This Darnell Washington news is great, and I really do not see how anybody could spin it any other way. When he said he is trying to slim down for the 2026 season after admitting he played over 300 pounds last year, some people instantly heard that and worried he was going to lose. What made him special? I hear the complete opposite. The Steelers are not asking Darnell Washington to turn into a 245-pound finesse tight end who gets pushed around at the line of scrimmage. They are asking a 6'7" human forklift to get himself into better football shape, keep his ridiculous strength, and add a little more burst to a game that is already extremely hard for defenses to deal with. That is a massive difference. There are guys who need to bulk up because they cannot hold the point of attack. And then there is Darnell Washington, a dude who was lining up across from defensive ends and making them look like they were trying to fight a garage door. Losing some bad weight or unnecessary weight is not going to erase that. His frame is enormous, his arms are absurdly long, and the power he generates comes from more than a number on a scale. He has natural strength, leverage when he gets his hands inside, and the kind of size that cannot be coached. You do not accidentally become the most intimidating blocking tight end in football because you ate a few extra meals. That is in him. The best version of Washington was never going to be the heaviest version of Washington. Anyway, the best version is the one that can cave in an edge on first down, then come back on the next play and actually threaten a linebacker or safety in the passing game because he is moving cleaner and faster. That is what makes this so exciting. We got a glimpse of how much he can impact an offense already, and he still had another level physically available to him. He is coming off career highs in catches and yards. Pittsburgh just showed exactly how much it believes in him by giving him the extension. And now he is taking the conditioning side seriously because he knows the role is about to get bigger. That is how a good player takes the next step toward becoming a problem. Slimming down should help him get out of his breaks with less wasted movement, get upfield faster after the catch, and become more useful when the offense moves him around instead of always treating him like an extra tackle. You can flex him out, put him next to the tackle, send him across the formation, use him in play action, and force defenses to decide whether they want to match his strength with a linebacker or try to cover his massive catch radius with a smaller defensive back. Neither answer is comfortable when he is moving like a guy who has taken real steps with his body, and that is the part people have to understand. This is not about making Darnell smaller. It is about making him more complete. He will still be the guy that helps bully people in the run game. He will still set the edge and make life easier for Jaylen Warren, Rico Dowdle, and whoever is carrying the football. But now, the same player can become more dangerous on a seam ball, a bootleg leak, a red zone route, or a catch where he gets one defender on his back and starts dragging him. Pittsburgh is not losing their dominant blocker. Pittsburgh is getting closer to unlocking the nightmare matchup he has always had the tools to be. And when you improve your body composition at that size, you are not trading power for speed. You are giving the power a better engine. His first step gets better. His recovery when he has to adjust gets better. And his ability to finish plays deep into the fourth quarter gets better. That is the goal here. Keep the bully mentality. Keep the mass where it counts. Then make the athlete underneath it all more available to the offense. That is what people should be excited about. Better movement with that frame is exactly how you turn a scary player into an every down nightmare for defenses. That is huge, man. And this is exactly why the Brian Angelicchio fit matters so much for Darnell Washington. Pittsburgh did not just bring in a random offensive coordinator who happens to have been around the league for a while. Angelicchio comes into this job with a real tight end and passing game background. And that is the type of coach who should look at Washington and immediately see a whole lot more than a sixth offensive lineman. That does not mean you stop using Darnell as a blocker, because that would be dumb. His blocking is one of the biggest strengths on the roster. It changes how defenses have to line up, and it gives the Steelers the ability to play physical football without announcing exactly what they are doing. But a coach who understands tight ends also understands that the position becomes dangerous when you refuse to make it predictable. The beauty of Washington is that the same formation can tell a defense two completely different stories. He can line up tight, look like he is there to hammer an edge defender, and then release late into space, where a linebacker has to suddenly account for a 6'7" target with a ridiculous wingspan. He can motion across the formation and make a defense adjust before the snap. He can block down in the run game one series, then sell that same look and leak out behind the defense the next series. He can be a red zone weapon where quarterbacks do not need him wide open because his frame lets them put the ball where a defender simply cannot reach it. Those are the things a tight end-minded offensive coordinator should be itching to build into the playbook, especially once Washington is carrying a little less weight and moving with even more juice. Brian Angelichio has spent years coaching tight ends and working in the passing game, so he knows how to take a player with one elite trait and develop the rest of the package around it. Darnell already has the intimidation factor. Nobody needs to teach him how to look enormous when he walks onto the field. Nobody needs to teach him how to knock a defender backward when he gets positioned correctly. The developmental part is tightening up the details that can turn him from a very good role player into a true number one tight end. Sharper releases, better pacing in his routes, knowing how to use his body against leverage, understanding where the soft spots are in coverage, and becoming more natural once the ball gets in his hands. Those are all things that can grow quickly when the player buys in and the coach knows exactly how to feature the position. And Washington slimming down tells me he is buying in. He is not sitting back and saying, well, I got paid. I am already one of the best blockers in football, so I will stay the same. He is admitting there is more there and putting himself in position to find it. That is the attitude you want from a player who just got a long-term commitment from the team. Mike McCarthy is going to have a real say in this offense, and he has always understood the value of putting big targets in spots where defenses cannot get comfortable. Pair that with Angelichio's tight end experience, and you have a setup that should be made for Washington to take off. Pat is still a valuable part of this room, but Darnell is the guy with the rarest physical ceiling. He is the one who can change the math of the offense just by lining up. Make him leaner, make him more explosive, and let an offensive staff with actual tight end experience design ways to get him involved as a receiver. And the Steelers could be sitting on one of the biggest breakout stories in football. I'm talking about a tight end who can block like a tackle, catch like a gigantic receiver, and create matchup headaches that no defense can solve with one person. And that is why this is the perfect moment for him to level up. The opportunity is there, the coach is fit, and Washington is clearly willing to do the work. This is a setup built for a real breakout season. The biggest thing I keep coming back to is that this should make every single part of Darnell Washington's game better. It helps the obvious stuff, like getting him a little quicker off the line, helping him carry his speed through a route instead of having to gear down so much, and giving him more of a chance to turn underneath catches into real gains. But it also helps the less obvious stuff that separates a good tight end from a player who commands attention all game. Better conditioning means you can play with the same violence later in a drive. It means you can block hard on a long sequence, get back to the huddle, then still have enough in the tank to run a play-action concept where the defense forgets you are even eligible. It means you can be on the field for more of the offense without the staff needing to pick spots for you. That is where the number one tight end conversation starts becoming real. You want Washington on the field because of the force he brings to the run game, but you also want him on the field because he can be a legitimate receiving threat. When that happens, the personnel becomes so much harder to defend. A defense cannot go light and just say they will treat him like a wide receiver because he can line up and wreck the edge. They cannot go heavy and just put a bigger body on him because now he has enough speed and agility to exploit that matchup in space. They cannot ignore him near the goal line because one good throw to that giant catch radius is 6 points. And when you put that next to Pat, DK Metcalf, Michael Pittman Jr., Gurmy Bernard, the running backs, and an offense that finally has coaches who should be much more intentional about creating matchup advantages, you start seeing why this is exciting. Darnell might never need to catch 100 passes to be one of the most important weapons on this team. His value is in the stress he puts on defenses. He makes the front tougher when Pittsburgh wants to run it. He gives the quarterback a huge security blanket when the field compresses. He makes linebackers hesitate because they have to respect the block and the release. He creates those little moments where a coordinator has to call a defense differently than they would against almost anybody else. That is winning football, and this staff should understand it. The great thing is that he is not starting from scratch. Washington is already a proven bully as a blocker. He has already shown he can contribute as a pass catcher, and the Steelers have already made a major investment in keeping him around. Now he is doing the right thing by getting his body in a place where he can take on more. That is not a red flag. That is a player listening, adjusting, and going after the version of himself that can become special. I fully expect Mike McCarthy and Brian Angelichio to look at him as much more than a niche weapon. They have a chance to make him the tone setter at tight end, the kind of player who makes the offense more physical, more flexible, and more dangerous every time he steps on the field. The Darnell Washington, who is a little lighter, cleaner in space, and still strong enough to move grown men, is exactly the Darnell Washington Pittsburgh needs. That dude is going to be a nightmare, and I honestly think people are sleeping on how close he is to blowing up. It also gives the offense more freedom before the snap. Darnell can let Pittsburgh stay in the same personnel while changing the picture for a defense. One play, he is attached and helping create a lane. The next, he motions into a matchup that worries the safety. Cheat toward him, and somebody else gets a clean look. That is how great tight end usage opens an offense up. It is not always one massive stat line, but it is stress, confusion, and easy opportunities for everybody else. Washington can be at the center of that because he is one of the few tight ends who changes the physical identity of a formation before the ball is even snapped. And real quick, shout out to my only member, Explore Your Mind 4645. I appreciate you for supporting the channel. It means a lot. If you enjoy these videos and want to support the content a little extra, memberships are there too, but no pressure at all.